started soon, okay? Yeah. That's your camera. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get started soon. I got Frank on
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty,
and justice for
all.
all. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Roll call, please.
Mayor Calabrese,
Present.
Councilor Fascio,
Present.
Councilman Getzey,
Present.
Councilwoman Sapp,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Pecora. Okay. Deputy Mayor Pecora is joining us by phone this evening.
Item number 4, please.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 18th meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Fascio,
Yes?
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pecora. Yes. Mayor Calabrese.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes were approved unanimously.
May I get a motion for the approval of expenditures?
Make a motion, we approve the expenditures. Item 5, journal vouchers, CD requisition checks.
Thank you, Councilman Getzey. May I get a second? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pecora. Any public comment? Any comment from council? Yes, Councilwoman Sapp.
This evening, I will be voting no on check number 52470, in the amount of $25,000 to Hawkins Harper. This organization received donations of furniture to give away to people in need. Ms. Harper actually sells the furniture to less fortunate people in need to make a profit. This stimulus money was used for, or is used for, organizations that are 501.
Any further comment from the public? I'm sorry, any comment from the council?
Could that be repeated? I didn't, it was kind of quiet. I'd like to hear the motion again. Down here.
I'm sorry, do you want, the motion was, we made a motion for the approval of the...
I would like to hear the motion made, because I'm sitting down here and she was speaking quietly. I'd like to hear.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I asked for a motion for item number 5.
Okay,
The motion was made and then it was seconded.
all right.
And so now we asked for public comment, there was none. We asked for council
comment, and now I'm asking for roll call.
What did Councilwoman Sapp say?
Want me to just paraphrase?
Essentially, she's saying she will not approve check number, I don't have the number in front of me, but it was for the 501c3 Jamar Place of Peace. Her position was, and please correct me if I misstate this, that this is to be used for 501c3 or other nonprofit organizations, and her position was that she's under the understanding that some of the items are sold.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes?
Councilwoman Sapp,
No on check number 52470 in the amount of $25,000, page 36, and yes to all others.
okay, that'll be reflected in the minutes. Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilor Fascio?
Yes.
Okay, expenses approved. Next on the agenda is a segment set aside for comment on non-agenda items. The individuals that appear on the agenda have signed up at least a week in advance to address the council on a non-agenda item. You'll be called in the order that you signed up. Please keep in mind there is a 3-minute rule on public speech, so you want to plan your comments accordingly. First, Kenneth Harshaw. Is Mr. Harshaw in the audience this evening? He is not. Mr. Palumbo, if you could please come to the podium at this time and take your 3 minutes, sir.
Trying to get my timer to work, but
I'll remind you.
Is my understanding that I sent an email which did the details, so I'm just going to do just a quick summary. I've lived here almost all my adult life on Jefferson Road, and boy, that intersection is one of those things that people hate but can't do much about, and maybe I'd like to try. There were three improvements I think that can make life better. 2 of them I think are very, very inexpensive. The other one maybe not so much. The first one is the road that goes downhill there, where it's 2 lanes wide, but some people don't know it's 2 lanes. And you have people who are just plopped in the middle there and thinking it's only 1 lane. So it'd be nice to at least have a lane in the middle there so we know it's 2 lanes, and perhaps some lane markers. The second thing is that virtually every major intersection has timing and sensing type of equipment to make sure that the traffic makes it through expeditiously. And for some reason, that intersection doesn't have it, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. I mean, it doesn't have the little sensors on top, I don't think. Okay? And number 3, there was a hazard, which I was trying to call to your attention there. Pulling out from Jefferson Road, you cannot see the traffic coming from Rodi Road, coming up the hill and making a left onto Universal. If you look on one of the photos there, it's blocked by the drop box and it's dropped by the hedges there. And you have to pull out, and the people from Rodi Road have the right of way. So if you pull out and these people come up here, you're in trouble. So it's something that's dangerous, even if you're careful. So those are the 3 things or suggestions I'd like to put out there for you folks to consider doing. And if you have the document there to detail everything, not much more for me to say, unless you have any questions.
I have a question. I have a question here. Up here.
Sir?
I'm sorry. Have you spoken with anybody, other than council here, have you spoken with anybody from the county or anybody else?
I spoke to Senator Conroy's office. Okay, I didn't really know who to get in touch with. Okay, mm-hmm. So I went with Senator Conroy's office, and Suzanne from that office has been very nice to me to try to chase up, like, who's responsible for this? Who do I convince? And no one seems to take the ball, or no one accepts it. And finally, I guess she said, well, Penn Hills Council has to approve it. So, okay, here I am.
Okay, thank you.
We'll certainly follow up with our Director of Public Works. I know some of that's county-owned. I think where you're talking specifically is, so that's something that we would have to follow up with them
You
on.
see, you have two county roads which intersect the state road, so who has jurisdiction?
I'm not prepared to answer that right now.
I understand,
I
but
will-
that's why it's being abandoned. Somebody has to do something about it. Okay, I'm done. Thank
We
you.
will follow up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Sponscade.
Good evening, Council. How are you?
Good evening.
I'm the owner and operator of Bonus Tire and Alpha and Omega Wheels, me and my wife, and used to be located at 4349 Verona Road. One of the situations that I've been reading some articles on grant and stimulus money, and I knew that Penn Hills recently had came into some money. So I was looking at some of the recommendations and how to apply, because one thing with the COVID totally severely affected our business all the way down through diversions, road closures, different things. One time we were doing our business, and our road was actually closed because it was a PennDOT issue with the sewage pipes and everything else. It affected us severely. From the point we've never actually recovered. We're trying to reestablish our business again back in Penn Hills, but we need help as far as stimulus money, grant money that would be available to go back. Because one of the things what we wanted to do was set up a school to teach the youth, girls and guys, to how to work on vehicles, do different things. That probably would curb some of the violence that's going on and different things here. And so if they had incentive and something to do, and being a business owner, we need funds and need available funds to be put together for us to put a program together. And we'd like to know if the council would be interested in helping us out do that. So that's what we're working on. So one of the reasons why I'm here is I need to know how that money is available and how to get to it, to set up a program, whether it's through the planning commission or actually through the mayor's office and whatever else goes on in the management.
If you want to give me your contact information, or if you want to wait, we can talk afterwards.
I would definitely like to give you my contact afterwards.
Awesome, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. Mayor, see the hand up?
Yes,
I'm confused about what Councilwoman Sapp was talking about, someone getting $25,000 but wasn't using it appropriately.
if,
Where is that?
in case, and for those of you who are new to our process, what we do, we have non-voting meeting and voting meetings. So at the voting meeting, we follow the agenda, but if you'd like to wait, I'd be happy to talk with you after the meeting. Okay, thanks. May I get a motion for item 7A?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Sapp.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 7A, approving resolution number 2022-27, awarding the 2022 Penn Hills WPCD Facilities Upgrade Contract Number 1 to JP Environmental LLC in the amount of $83,000. Contract Number 2 to Sunrise Commercial Contracting in the amount of $105,965, and contract number 3 to Sunrise Commercial Contracting in the amount of $57,600.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Before we move to comment, I just think it might be helpful if someone could speak. I don't know whether that would be our engineer or the Director of Planning. Could you give us a brief description? And any other resolution that is joined with this, that would be great. Thank you.
You're welcome. These are upgrades, publicly bid projects to improve the facilities at the sewage treatment plant. So specifically, it's related to paving, a new generator, and upgrades to equipment at the site. So these are just materials and equipment that are being upgraded. The bids came in competitive. I think there was only one bid for the paving, but it met, it was in line with the cost estimate for the engineer, from the engineer. So we recommended all three of these be approved.
Thank you so much. Any public comment? Any comment from council? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Sapp? Deputy Mayor Pecora? Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Counselor Fascio?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Item 7A approved.
Thank you. May I get a motion for item 7B?
I'd like to make
Thank you.
a motion that we approve item 7B, resolution number 2022-28, authorizing the adoption of the 2022 emergency operations.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? Any comment from council? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Counselor Fascio?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp?
Yes.
Item 7B approved.
May I get a motion for item 7C?
I'll make a motion for item 7C, approve resolution 2022-29, which grants approval to the Community Development Block Grant Program Action Plan fiscal year 2022 and the Home Program.
Thank you, Councilman Getzey. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Fascio. Any comment from the public?
I'm sorry.
Could you please come to the microphone?
If you could please, we receive federal funds every year as part of our entitlement from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And as part of that grant, from time to time, we have to approve various plans for that money, one of which is the action plan that's on the agenda. It's been posted publicly for the last few weeks. It's also available here if you'd like to look at it. But that document is related to how we spend our entitlement dollars over the next few years. Is that an adequate summary? Is that for public use? I'm sorry, if you...
Is that something that the community is supposed to have access to, or is that something?
The plan itself?
Right, no, I mean the funds.
The
Is that
funds are
used for-
spent according to what the federal government tells us to spend them on. Typically, those are public improvements at various public facilities. You could do demolition, you could do ADA improvements. In certain cases, you can even pave roads. That's all in our action plan, which you could read. It's also available online.
Okay, thank you.
May I add to that? They've been getting this grant since 1975. The federal government, Department of Housing and Urban Development, oversees the grant, at least with one official review a year, but they're in constant phone contact, probably 3 or 4 times a week. You talk with them, Chris. So the grant has never had any problems, and the oversight is very good, and a lot of people have benefited from it in residential and different areas.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that it is federal oversight. Any further comment from the public? Any further comment from council? Roll call, please.
Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Counselor Fascio?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Item 7C approved.
May I get a motion for item 7D?
I'd like to make a motion for item 7.
Thank you. May I get a second?
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2022-30, authorizing a grant with Gateway Engineers for professional engineering services related to Penn Hills Community Development Block Grant Program.
I don't want to be overly technical, but Solicitor, do we need and I appreciate you, do we need, can Councilwoman Sapp second her own motion?
No.
Okay, so although,
Somebody else has to say.
But
I
I-
made the motion.
yes, so you made it, and
Somebody needs to
and I
second
love
it.
your efficiency, but so that we're technically right, can somebody else second this?
Yes, I'd like to second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? Any comment from council? Roll call, please.
Counselor Fascio,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pecora. Yes. Mayor Calabrese.
Yes.
Item 7D approved.
May I get a motion for item 7E?
Mayor, I'd
Yes.
like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-31, appointing Gateway Engineers as the engineer of record for the Universal and Penn Hills Parks Community Conservation Partnership Program.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? Any comment from council? Roll call, please.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pecora. Yes. Mayor Calabrese,
Yes.
Counselor Fascio.
Yes.
Item 7E approved.
May I get a motion for item 7F?
I'll make a motion for item 7F. Approve Resolution 2022-32, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County for design, engineering, and construction of the Verona, Oakmont, Penn Hills, Plum, VOPP Trail, Segment 2, Milltown.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Before I go further, Mr. Blackwell, would you like to give a brief description?
Sure. The Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County has put forth this grant. The Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County put forward a grant opportunity, and the municipality of Penn Hills is taking advantage of that. And if you're familiar with the trail, it's the VOP, it's the Verona, Oakmont, Penn Hills, and Plum Trail. The municipality of Penn Hills, we received land acquisition last year this time for about a mile of this trail. And so I'm taking the opportunity to apply for the engineering, design, and construction of that portion of the trail. In addition, I'm going to say it now, for the next motion, while I was working on this grant application, I also applied for a grant for the this is for $675,000, but I also applied for a separate grant for $1,173,000 for the design and engineering of the entire trail. So I'm doing that on behalf of the 4 communities involved. And I would like to say, like, some of these communities, Penn Hills is very fortunate to have professional staff. We have a professional planning staff, we have finance staff, we have the ability to apply for these grants. You'll see tonight there's several $1 million in multimodal, these grants, 2 traffic light grants. I think it's good to be said that there's a couple $1 million in grant funding. These do not require match. So it seemed to make sense to really try to go after this. And in addition, you'll remember that Allegheny County really spearheaded this trail by providing us with an active Allegheny grant to write the feasibility study. So this is so we had the feasibility study done in 2020, and this is really taking off of trying to continue with this effort. And so I think we have a good chance here in that Allegheny County funded us for the study. And so I just want to say so I'm going for a sort of small grant. $675,000 is not a small amount, but it's significant. And then also for the full amount of the design and engineering for the whole grant, and I hope that we can receive these funds.
Thank you. Any comment from the public?
Sorry, could you? If you could please come to the podium and state your name.
It's 1.1.
Just one moment. In case you're new to the process, so we're making a record here. I know it seems sort of formal, but this is our formal voting meeting. So if you could please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Vonda Cade, Verona, PA. I just wanted to know the second amount for the trail.
Yeah, the first one was $675,592. I hope I have those numbers correct. And the second one is $1,173,000. That would be for the engineering design of 13.4 miles of trail.
Okay, thank you.
And
Sure,
could you state
absolutely.
your address for the record too, please?
I did, Verona, PA,
No, okay.
8140,
I'm sorry, what's your street address?
8140 Ava Road.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any further any further comment from the public? Any comment from council?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, thank you.
I'd like to just add that I was very privileged and honored to be able to sit in some of those meetings, and this is a great opportunity for Penn Hills to have this walking trail and to connect us to our neighboring communities. And there's going to be some wonderful things along the trail that's really going to be beneficial to Penn Hills as well as inviting. So, Chris, you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any further comment from council?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Fascio.
If I could ask Mr. Blackwell, for either of these grants, is there a time frame for spending this money?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. That was another thing that went into this has to be spent by December of 2023.
Okay.
And if you're familiar with any of these grants or street paving, that is hustling.
Yeah.
We're going to be on our toes. That also was partly why I applied for only the design, engineering, and construction of the portion that we actually have land acquisition for, and then the design and engineering of the whole thing, not construction, because you could never get that done. And I will also say that I am working with Verona on segment 1, which is in Verona, which would be approved by Verona's council, and that's basically on the street. So it's signage and striping. So that would be something that we believe we can get done also. But that will go before Verona's council, although I'm working on it to help him, assist them.
Thank you.
Any further comment from council? Let me say, the time for public comment is over, so let me say how it works, in case you're new to this. So, for example, I asked him to talk about this grant application right now. It might look to those of you who are new that we are just passing all these things. We would do you a disservice if we didn't do our homework ahead of time. We're not just learning about this as we sit up here. So what happens is, because we're your voice, but all of this is public information, so what happens is it all gets published ahead of time, so everything that we see, you see, and so we offered for public comment, then the next phase is for council comment, and then we vote from there. These are very formal meetings. We have a second meeting each month that's less formal, that lends itself for that time, so for question and answer and those sorts of things. And of course, you are always free to contact us. We're here for you. We make ourselves accessible for you. So we follow this procedure very formally, but it might look to you as if, oh, well, they're just passing this. We've done all this homework ahead of time, but we do welcome comment. But moving on, so roll call, please.
Councilwoman Sapp?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilor Fascio?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Item 7F approved.
May I get a motion for item 7G?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 7G, approving resolution number 2022-33, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County for design and engineering of 13.41 miles of the VOPP trail.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sapp. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Getzey. Any comment from the public? Any comment from council?
Yes,
Well,
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Yes.
This is going to be directed to Chris Blackwell. Are there any other public meetings on this trail to come in the future?
I think at each step, so each step of the way, like this, applying for a grant, if you recall, even, I believe it was last month or the month before, I applied for another grant. So anytime they come available, I'm sorry if I'm not speaking to the mic properly. Every time they come available, I try to take advantage of those opportunities. So each time there's a application, then yes, there is a public meeting with that grant application or some step along the way. At the same time, the other communities are also working on this, so they would have their public meetings also. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry.
Sorta. You know, VOP came together and we hosted
Yes.
a couple of those meetings. Are those meetings still going on where the public are invited to those meetings, even if they're in our neighboring community?
Yes, yes. Like, as I said, each step of the way, so right now they're working on, Verona's working on their portion of the trail. So while Penn Hills is working on our portion, so there would be opportunities for public meetings. And actually, there will be some shortly. I think this summer, we have we're doing some engineering and design in Verona. And so when those come available, I could let you know, but they wouldn't be on our, probably not posted on our website, but they would be the whole trail. Each time a community does a section or a segment, then they have a public hearing. So then I have the section that's in Penn Hills on tonight that you just approved. So this section is actually the whole trail. So if you look in your packet, there's a resolution for you to approve. There's also a resolution that I'm taking to each community. So we're hoping that they're all working on this also. And so they're gonna have a meeting about this same portion, so we can get everybody on the same page and working together.
Okay, that's good. I think that when VOP brought everyone together in one room and had the presentations, it was really good for the residents in all of the neighboring communities to really see what was to come.
We're really proud of this building. So at every opportunity, I try to have meetings here. So even some of those early meetings, to have the kind of volume, the space, the facility that we have here. So I always offer it.
Yes.
And I will do that again.
Thank you.
Any further comment from council? I've just got one. I just want to, please correct me if I'm wrong. This requires no matching from us, correct?
That's correct. There's no match involved in this grant. That's correct.
So this is really exciting because this is essentially free money to us. And what's happening, so you don't necessarily see everything that's happening because it doesn't all happen up here. But, one of the things is the east end of town, we've been neglected for so long, frankly. It seems like all the money's going out to the south and to the west and to the north. So slowly we're starting to feel like, hey, pay attention to us out here. And so if we can, we have to get together as neighboring communities. And this is going to be, it's beautiful, but it also shows that we have strength in numbers. And this is really, I think it's sensational that this can get done and we don't even have to match it. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilor Fascio?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp?
Yes.
Item 7G approved.
May I get a motion for item 7H?
I'll make a motion to approve item 7H, approve the resolution 2022-34 awarding the Penn Hills Phase, I think it says 15, spot liner and specialty repair excavation contract, A, to Site Pipe Incorporated in the total amount of $477,480, and contract B to Solely Construction Incorporated in the amount of $297,800.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
That's actually 14, but it's item 7H, so we're in good shape there. Any comment from the public? Any comment from council?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, please.
I'd just like if we can just give the public a little clarification, since these are large numbers. I'd like to just give a little clarification in the event that they weren't able to read the details or maybe didn't understand them.
Yes, this is a contract for additional sewer repairs. So in the past, we've let contracts for direct excavation, spot repairs that we call them. So we have small collapses, and that you're usually 6 to 8 feet in length. So there was an entire contract of 100 of those locations throughout Penn Hills that was awarded last month. Also, there were, I don't recall the number, there were several, 85 or so, specific locations for liners. So this is where an in situ liner is slid into the pipe, and it goes from one manhole to the other, and it's called a full liner. And that contract was awarded last month as well. These contracts are different in that one is a spot liner contract. So what that means, in this case, there are 126 spots that only a small portion of the liner is required. We don't need the entire length of the pipeline. We just need a spot line. So they're able to insert a 6 or 8 foot long resin impregnated sock, which then is inflated and cures, and then it patches the hole, or it patches the cracking or the damage to the pipe. It's a very cost-effective method. So we always try to do spot liners first because it's the least cost method for repairs. So these are repairs that are still eligible for that least cost method. And then the second contract, B of this contract that you have under consideration for tonight, is called a specialty excavation repair contract. And what that is, it's similar to the excavation contract that we let last year, or last month, which was in spots. We would excavate and replace those pipes. In this case, there's something different. So let's say maybe the repair is actually 100 feet long, or maybe it's between 2 houses, or maybe it's exceptionally deep. So we pull these out and we call them specialty repairs, and we bid them lump sum. So each one gets its own price, and we can decide whether to accept that price or not. And the reason we do it this way is that if we include these in the simple spot repairs, the excavation repairs, then it drives those prices up. So we keep all the relatively simple repairs in one contract. We get a very good price for that. The tough ones we pull out, we call them specialties. And I still say we get a good price for those, because what happens there is the contractors have to use their creativity to figure out what's the best way to make these repairs. And so we get, costs usually are below what we're estimating, because the contractors are better at figuring the costs for making repairs like this than engineers. So in any event, that's the explanation and the follow-up of this contract to the contract that was let last month. And I'll add that the only reason this almost $700,000 worth of work is even available was because of the stimulus funds that have been allocated to the sanitary sewer program. So this is money that is directly used from those grants.
Thank you.
Any further comment from council? I'll just say, talking about the sewer system isn't very sexy, but the reality is it's the one service that every single one of us use every single day, so we got to take care of it. Roll call, please.
Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilor Fascio?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Item 7H approved.
Thank you. May I get a motion for item 7I?
I'll make the motion to approve Resolution 2022-35, awarding the Frankstown Road Signal Modernization Project to Bruce Mary Lee's Electric Company in the amount of $295,727. With $295,727, is that 94 cents? 94 cents?
Thank you. May I get a
Am I
second?
reading that right?
I'm sorry. Thank you. May I get a second?
A second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? Any comment from council? Roll call, please.
Councilor Fascio?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Okay. Item 7I approved.
May I get a motion for item 7J?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Fascio.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-36, awarding the 2022 Multimodal Road Program to A. Felino Construction Incorporated in the amount of $1,202,192.06.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
I'm not sure if this is for Mr. Blackwell or not. Would you like to give a brief description? The manager?
I think the manager can handle this one. Thank you.
This, along with the last resolution, provide us with state funding to do a number of projects. We were fortunate a few years ago to get the first of 2 multimodal grants with, I think it's an 80-20 program where we get 80% of the funds for road reconstruction from the state. We have to spend the other 20. So this is the latest series of road improvements that we're going to be making this summer. If you've noticed, we've been doing a lot of construction the last few summers under that first grant. So this is part of the second round of money that we were given from the state. This is the first summer that we're going to be into that second grant. It's actually coinciding with finishing up what was left of the first grant. So this is basically good news for anybody in Penn Hills because we're going to be doing a lot of work this year actually in the foreseeable future because I think it's a 3-year program. So we're going to be doing more roads for the next 2 years. And if you would like to know what roads we are working on this summer, we have that available to you. And I think it's also on the website as well.
Any comment from the public? Any comment from council?
Yes, Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that we did indeed put that on our website so that the residents are aware of what streets are being done and when.
I believe it is. But we'll make sure.
Let me say that everything that we ever vote on up here is always subject to public review. And if you look on the website or you request it, and if it's not there, this is for you. We're here to be transparent. And you have every right to come and ask or ask for a meeting and sit down and find out what this is about. This multimodal program has been going on for, this is like at least 3 years. This is very, very exciting. When you look at this on paper, it doesn't look very exciting, but when you think about what this is very, very good news for Penn Hills. Because what we're doing is, first of all, this is the state telling us that they trust us with this kind of money. We have the ability to handle this kind of money. We have the workforce. We have the professional staff. A lot of places don't get this type of funding. We receive this. The other thing is, this is an investment in our future. So we are doing now what other communities have yet to do. And it's further, I think, really sensational that it's an 80-20 match, meaning for every dollar that's spent, we're given 80 cents, we put 20 cents in. I mean, you can't beat that deal, right? So this is so exciting because this is, we're incrementally increasing our values, we're increasing our visibility, and Penn Hills is fast becoming one of the best places to be, and we are saying to the rest of the county and to the state and even federally, don't ignore us, and they're answering our call. So this is exciting. Roll call, please.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilor Fascio?
Yes.
7J approved?
May I get a motion for item 7K?
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2022-37, awarding a contract to Set Inc. for the Frankstown Road and Shenandoah Drive traffic signal replacement project in the amount of $275,000.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sapp. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Fascio. Any comment from the public? Yes, please.
My name is Andrea Getzey. I live at 151 Crescent Hills Road, and I am the spouse of James Getzey. I want to know if this is the site, Frankstown and Shenandoah Road. A new signal is going in. I had been sending pictures to the managers, as he's aware, of our sidewalk located maybe 20 feet from that intersection, which has a hole in it. Has a hole in it for about 3 years. It's a dangerous situation. It's a mess. Mud's always there, and it runs down the sewer line on Frankstown Road. Now, I'm under the understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, that whenever a new signal goes in, that the four corners of the sidewalks have to be redone, ADA compliant. And I thought if any cement is being poured up there, I'd like to see some poured into that hole and finally get it fixed. It's been about 3 years. That's it. Thank you.
That is part of it. I know the ADA pads are part of the project.
Yeah, but I believe it's the one side of Shenandoah from Spring Grove to Shenandoah on the one, not all four corners, Ms. Getzey, but the two corners, the ones that you cross, it won't be on the one far corner, is my understanding. You're mentioning an issue there that there's also a sinkhole or something going on in the street also, you've noticed, and that is a state road. Yeah. I used to walk past there and I noticed it. It's been there for many years, like you say.
Any further comment from the public? Any comment from council? I've got a question. Is this, this is for $275,000, but is there's a state grant?
Yeah.
So
Arley.
I'm sorry?
It's Arley money.
Yes.
It's called, this is funded primarily with state dollars. I think we're matching it with CD funds.
Right, so we're not 100% funding this.
Right, it's, we're not funding it, right, it's grant, and then we're matching it with CDBG for the accessible portion.
Which means we're so out of pocket for taxpayers of Penn Hills, it's zero.
That's correct.
This is just getting better. Any further comment from council? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Sapp?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilor Fascio?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Item 7K approved.
May I get a motion for item 8A?
Mayor?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Fascio. Any comment from the public? Any comment from council?
I have a comment.
Just a moment, Mr. Councilman. Just a moment, Councilman Getzey. Councilwoman Sapp was first.
Thank you. I just wanted to have our business manager elaborate on. That's it.
Sure. I'd be happy to. Whenever the municipality approved its 2022 operating budget last year, the final rules and the final guidelines for the stimulus weren't actually in place at that time, but they were all but complete. Subsequently to the adoption of our 22 budget, those rules have changed. And the way in which they changed is that the Treasury is allowing all recipients of the American Rescue Funds to take what's called the standard allowance. It basically allows the municipality to take the first $10 million of its stimulus as what is called the standard allowance. And when that happens, it enables us to reimburse a lot of expenses that we may have, and the guidelines under which the funding is spent then change. So we're required to do this only because of the fact that when we produced our 2022 budget, we had anticipated under the rules to be spending a lot of the money directly out of the stimulus, and it was tied to the rules. I don't know whether you may have been at many of our meetings where we've had that discussion. So through that standard allowance, it allows us to program that money the same way we would have anyway. All of the things that we came forward with last year and showed the public in terms of what we wanted to spend stimulus dollars on, none of that's changing. But what is changing is the way in which the money will leave the stimulus fund and come into the general fund and pay bills. So because of the fact that it is a large dollar amount, we're required to ask the mayor and council to legally amend our budget to do that. That's probably about the best summary I can give you. But in terms of the actual specifics of the programming and what we want to spend stimulus on, that hasn't changed. That's still in our capital improvement budget. That was in presentations last year and so forth. This is really a way for us to, once again, be transparent, to come before the public and say, those rules for the stimulus have changed. We're allowed to take that standard allotment. But the good news is that for a lot of communities in the United States, when they took that standard allotment, that was the end of the question for them, because a lot of people didn't get the kind of money that we got. If your town only got $6 million, you could take the entire standard allotment, would use up the entire grant, and you were essentially free to spend it as you would any of your other municipal dollars. When we take that standard allotment, we still have $6 or $7 million left in the stimulus fund that tie then back to the rules that we were looking at last year. So all of the projects are going to be tracked. Everything that we have spent directly out of stimulus or out of other dollars that were freed up because of stimulus, those are all available for your review along with the mayor and councils as well.
Thank you.
We knew that, oh, I'm sorry, Mayor, one more part of that. We knew that we anticipated that those changes were going to come just because COVID was so new, and we knew that they were going to change.
And I think what also had happened was I think, and I'm guessing, and I'll go on a limb and I say this, I think that a lot of communities lobbied the Treasury for changes in the rules. A lot of people felt like some of those rules didn't give enough flexibility. So this is happening because the Treasury changed its rules to allow communities to take the first $10 million as almost like you would take a standard deduction when you do your taxes. It's sort of a similar concept. That first $10 million, it still has to be tracked, and we still have to spend it on qualified things. But we're able to do it in a way that makes it a little bit easier, I would think, for us and for our staff. But all the projects underlying the stimulus program, none of that's changing. It's just the way in which the money is coming from the stimulus fund into general fund. That's what this is about.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilman Getzi, I believe you had a comment?
Yes, Councilwoman Sapp pretty much asked the question I was going to ask, but I have a little addition to that. When that money comes in, the stimulus money, I understand this standard allowance business. But when the money is here, it can roll into an account, an interest-bearing account. And one, how much interest are we making on the money? And the second question is, if we have the interest, if you fund a project, let's say you fund a street project, and the street project is $1 million, $4 million, and they get $1 million to work with. The remaining $3 million, is that given to them at that time, or is it invested for a profit? And I understand that profit comes back to the municipality.
Councilman Getzi, I don't know that I quite understand the second question, and we could revisit that. To answer the question that you posed at the beginning was related to the ability that we have to accrue interest on the funds. We are allowed to put the stimulus into interest-bearing accounts. We are then limited as to what those investments always are. All of those investments always have to be FDIC insured. A lot of them are safe money markets. So we are allowed to put those, put the stimulus dollars into an interest-bearing account, and I think we have done that now. So there's been some interest accrued. The second part of your question, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. You were posing a hypothetical about a $3 million project, and I apologize, I wasn't.
Well,
if you could repeat that.
Let's say
question.
we have a project that's a road project, and we have committed $4 million to that project. Now, to get that project underway, it doesn't take the $4 million, the total $4 million. And let's say it takes $1 million. So we give the company $1 million, and we have $3 million sitting back. Now, that $3 million, is that invested by us to get a return on that? Because it's committed, but can it get interest by just sitting until it's due to the contractor?
I think the best answer to that hypothetical would be that, money that's in an interest-bearing account, I think some of those are sweep accounts, and I don't know whether they accrue daily or monthly, but, the money that is in any account is going to accrue interest, if it's in there. But in this example, you would presumably have awarded the contractor a contract for the full $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
So you would know that even though there's money in that account, some of it's been committed. A lot of that is what Sherry does with staff, is to sort of keep track of what's been committed. We have a number of projects that are being funded by stimulus and also being funded by the Sanitary Sewer Fund and our Capital Improvement Fund. So I'm trying to keep a lot of that straight, is really what the staff does. But I think the best answer to give you would be whether it's accrued daily or monthly, it's accrued on the funds that are in that account, whether or not they've been committed or not, I would presume.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pecora? Yes. Mayor Calabrese?
Yes.
Councilor Fascio?
Yes.
Councilman Getzey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sapp?
Yes.
8A approved?
May I get a motion for item? Okay. The manager just told me we are not voting on this tonight. This is just an introduction. So we are under item 9. This is an introduction of a proposed ordinance. This is an introduction of an ordinance enacting parking restrictions on Jefferson Road on the even-numbered side between the dog park and the intersection of Jefferson Heights Road. So this will not be voted on tonight. This is just an introduction. Are there any comments from the public?
Hi, my name is James Bishop. I'm at 804 Jefferson Road, one of the houses that would be addressed by this ordinance change. We'd previously inquired, I believe I made a call to one of the people on the council, just asking about the ordinance and why it was being put in place. And the ordinance was being put in place due to visibility issues coming from Jefferson Heights onto Jefferson Road itself. Specifically, if cars are parked on that road, there's visibility issues. We've done some investigation. We've taken some photos from the position of Jefferson Heights onward, and we found that cars parked along the road, and I brought some photos. I don't know if they could be passed around or whatnot. Sir, I'll pass them to Chris. There's 2 of them if you want to keep one and pass it along. But from the red vehicle that you see parked there, the service van owned by the house at the intersection, the vehicle is parked legally within its boundaries of the parking lot of the residence, but it's still obscuring the view of the road. Meanwhile, you can actually, if you look very closely through the ladder at the top, you can see a car parked in front of my house, but just barely, and you can barely see it behind the legally parked vehicle that is there most of the time. And the car that is parked legally there most of the time, the red service van, is obscuring the view rather than the cars parked on the street. And while I understand that's not passing the buck, that's not exactly why I'm here. It's more, it doesn't feel like this solution is going to actually solve the problem. Jefferson Road is a state road where a lot of vehicles travel through that road, even though it is listed as a 35, at higher than normal speed limits. And so because of that, it's just generally a dangerous road. We can't really have outdoor pets. The dog park along the road. People have to walk very much into the grass rather than along the medium because they're afraid of people just screaming down the road. We're looking to see if we can try to propose other solutions to the issue rather than restricting parking, because that puts us in an awkward position. The people next to me are just moving in. They just became aware of the ordinance today because they just got the mail, and they would have reconsidered where they were going to live if they knew about this ordinance. It devalues the houses there. Not only that, but, sorry, this is my first time doing this. I do apologize. I'm a little nervous.
No, you're fine.
it puts a lot of pressure on us because now our parking situation, my house is currently getting the driveway ripped out. We can't park alongside it. So our residences, we would have to park on the opposite side of the street and walk across a road that is a dangerous road. Jefferson can be a very dangerous road if people are screaming down the road at 60 miles an hour. And so suddenly now we become the ones in the position of danger if we are not able to accommodate the people sitting in our driveways, or if we are not able to accommodate that. So we were interested to see if the municipality would be interested in alternative solutions, like putting a reflective mirror that allows people coming from Jefferson Heights to view up the road, or to consider putting a four-way stop, even though I know it is a state road and that is a bit more of a difficult process. There are just a four-way stop, and we've actually, my neighbor and I collected signatures from people up and down the area. But we were also, I know that in Holland, PA, near my grandmother's house, there's a stop sign that only activates when it gets pressure from people on the other side of the stop sign. So it's a major road with 2 feeder roads on the side, and the stop sign on the major road only activates when people on the feeder roads park and actually get queued up, at which point it then presents the stop sign, not limiting traffic speed unless somebody is trying to pull out. And I was curious if Penn Hills was interested in pursuing something like that to make Jefferson just a safer road in general, or if this seemed to be the best solution.
I'm just speaking for myself. I mean, I would be open to any suggestion you may have. I mean, I travel that a lot. I mean, I know sometimes visibility is an issue. I know in the picture there's no one parked in that area where there's usually a lot of vehicles that are obscuring visibility. I would be certainly open to it. We have a traffic safety committee. That's where this originated. So this came to the mayor and council and myself as a recommendation from the traffic safety committee. It's on the agenda as an introduction, and we reached out to I reached out to the residents by letter.
Yep.
And letting them know that it was up for discussion. I would be happy to take any suggestions you may have. I mean, we may be able to revisit it with the committee. I think it's coming from a place of concern from public safety. There are a lot of people traveling on that road. There's a lot of school buses on that road too.
Yep, the
So I
elementary
think
schools.
that's why it is coming to us, is coming from a place of not trying to inconvenience anyone. Certainly, if you have a party or something, you may have overflow parking. You can't always accommodate it in your driveway, but that's really the issue and why it was brought up. But certainly, to the extent that there's an alternative, I think that the committee would probably be willing to entertain it and discuss it. I know I would.
All right.
And I
Awesome.
think I
Thank you.
speak on behalf of council when I say that even though it originates in in committee, when it gets to us, I think that everybody here is, you know, we really do try to work with residents and see, just because there's one idea, it doesn't mean we're not open to others.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris. Also, my first time. I'm at 808 Jefferson Road, so I'm another one of the residents directly affected by this. We've got 5 cars in our house. But I was just curious, if I had just asked the people around where I live, how would you feel about doing like a 4-way stop, knowing that there's rather complex implications to such a proposal? I did this in an hour before this meeting. I got 26 signatures with the addresses of the individuals who are interested in doing a 4-way stop. And that's not just in the interest of the sight lines coming from one direction or another. This is going in all directions. Everybody is affected at that intersection, hoping that they were correct in their judgment call when they pull out onto Jefferson Road, because they are going alarmingly fast. Can I give this to you? I've taken a copy of it myself, so I can give you the original if you like. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? So this was just the introduction, and the manager just told me that he will go back to the committee and research further.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Sapp.
I wasn't sure if you were going to call for council comments or not on that, but I just wanted to add that I'm not a big fan of the reflective mirror, just because nobody really is going to pay that any attention on that road. They're already going way too fast. But I'm definitely in support of looking into the four-way stop sign.
Might be the answer.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we're not engineers, well, one of us is, but on council, so we really rely heavily on our staff and we rely on the expertise. But we are here to be your voice, so unless we hear from you, and so that's why we're grateful that you're here tonight. We move to council comments. Deputy Mayor Pecora, do you have any comment this evening?
Yes, Mayor. I understand that we haven't had a Memorial Day parade since 2019 due to the pandemic, I guess. And I'd like to encourage everybody, if they can make it, to the Memorial Day parade next Monday. I believe it starts at 11 a.m. at St. Bart's and ends up at the Government Center. Please, if you can come, it would be great. We're finally having a good Memorial Day parade, and I hope the weather is good for the parade. And I just want to thank everybody for bearing with me this evening. I'm a little under the weather, but thank you so much, and you have a great evening, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Sapp, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. And part of this I'm going to leave for your report, Mayor. So I just have a suggestion. Mayor Calabrese and I, we attended an event on Sunday, and I'm going to let her talk about that. On that note, Mayor, I was thinking that it would be a great idea if we had a Meet the Chief here at the municipal building in the parking lot for all of the residents to come out and meet the new chief of police. It was a very isolated event, although it was very wonderful. But as I sat and looked out into the congregation, I thought how wonderful it would be if we took this same idea and brought it here to the municipal building where we had a Meet the Chief Day. So that was one comment. And the other thing, along the lines of that, also wanted to see if we can solicit some suggestions that in ways we can find and encourage our people from Penn Hills to apply for police officer positions here, and more particularly in the African-American communities. Our police force is a great force, but it definitely needs more diversity. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Getzey.
Okay. My comments are in the form of two questions. First one is, when Mr. Cade came up and asked about an application or his situation, I know for the nonprofits there was an application form distributed by the manager and was filled out by the applicants. I'm not sure what the process for asking for individual grants, individual assistance, or anything outside of nonprofits to apply for grants under the stimulus program. Do we have a process? Do we have a format? What is it, and will we have one if we don't?
This is the time for, I didn't mean to cut you off. This is the time for comment, and we've discussed this. If you want to meet with the manager and go forward, but this isn't the time to do homework. So with all due respect, I'm going to ask you to meet with the manager separately. What we've done, it's been published, applications were made, we've discussed this publicly, we've discussed this many times. There may be another opportunity, we don't know where it's going. We know that businesses have a separate application outside of the municipality. So that's something that can be discussed in detail, but at this point in time, to folks who are new, this may seem very formal, as I said in the beginning, because we are making a record, but this is not the time. But you're certainly free to ask questions, and we have non-voting meetings where we're more open for discussion. So if you want...
Mayor, with all due respect, I don't want to meet with the manager one-on-one. I want this to be a council effort, and I'd like it to be a public answer, because we have people out there who are eligible for the grant, possibly eligible there's a lot of things that could be done, and I want to know how they go about doing it.
Well, I'm going to stick to the agenda tonight, and we are on the comments section. So if you have any further comment, please feel free to make it. But
Well-
this is not a question and answer session right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. So my next comment is, last week we had a non-voting meeting in which some people came in regard to the Hoffman Kennel, and those people were opposed to it and gave some reasons why they were. It caught my attention because it's an issue I'm concerned about too. So this evening I distributed a letter with my position on this, and which was that we form our own department of animal maintenance and holding animals, and trying to get them settled in their former places or new places. Now, there were a number of people here, and I'm not sure that anybody in this audience today was part of that discussion. So if anybody was here last week, would you please raise your hand? Okay. And secondly, I don't know what we propose to do is, I think with the stimulus money and the interest we get on the stimulus money, we could form our own department to take care of pets, to board them and to care for them with hired staff and volunteers, but it should be a municipal effort. And I passed out a letter to everybody taking my position, but I would like to hear from anybody who was at that meeting and to see what follow-up there is, because the mayor ended the meeting with a task force should be formed to look at the situation, and I would like to know what's happening since that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Fascio.
No comment.
Thank you. We did have a meeting about Hoffman, and we are forming a task force. Anybody who would like to join that task force, please feel free to contact us. We have, Mr. Costa said he will give us, he said he sent me one, so I'll check it when I leave here, a list of email addresses to form the task force for the Hoffman contract. On Sunday, as Councilwoman Sapp noted, we went to, many of you may know Dr. Kincaid. He is the pastor of New Life Ministries. He did a blessing and an honor in term for the new chief. It was really quite beautiful to see the outpouring of the community, and I agree wholeheartedly with Councilwoman Sapp that we should have a Meet the Chief Day. In addition to that, we have some very exciting things happening. I see her in the audience, Kathy Rayborn, who is the head of the Shade Tree Commission, along with Betty Ornth, Ruth Anno, I believe you're part of it. If there's anybody else here that I'm missing, please raise your hand and let me know, because I don't want to let anybody out. But it's very exciting what we're doing. We started well over a year ago to think about ways to improve Rhode Island Road. We met at various times with various groups to walk Rhode Island Road. We have, coincidentally, we had no idea that this was going to happen whenever we started this, but we found out last month that there is a federal grant. We applied for $1 million to attempt to approve Rhode Island Road. Chris Blackwell, our Director of Planning, had pointed out we have certain safety issues. You know, there are missing sidewalks. There are sidewalks that need to be repaired. Hopefully that can happen. For safety issues, we've had engineers from Duquesne Light come out to replace. They will be determining which bulbs need to be replaced, which need to be added to make Rhode Island Road safer. We intend to beautify Rhode Island Road. Well over a year ago, I met with the Shade Tree Commission and other individuals. They walked various times and mapped to see where trees, shrubs, flowers could be to beautify it. And then in this very room last week at 1 o'clock on May 19th, I believe it was, a group called Leadership Pittsburgh. It was about 50 young professionals came in, and they had been working since October to figure out how to update and beautify our shopping center. At this point, it seems to be outdated. It seems to be not very well used. Now it's private property, so we would have to work in collaboration with the private property owners. But again, it's time that the east is not neglected, and we finally are starting to get some folks to take a look at us. So it was very, very exciting to have the meeting here last week to revitalize the shopping center. And we're just starting with Rhode Island Road because people come from the turnpike to the parkway in that direction. We will eventually move to other roads. You may have noticed, you know, there have been improvements in other roads as well, but we're starting with that, and I'm actually in contact with Mayor Gainey because we border the city as well, so that would have to be a partnership with the city, but we're going to try to come from all north, south, east, and west of Penn Hills. But the good news is, and you hear it tonight, if somebody just looks at the agenda, it looks really boring and it looks like it's a bunch of numbers. But the reality is, these numbers are dollars, and these dollars translate into improving our lives, the lives of our neighbors and each other. So we have a lot of really good and exciting things coming down the pike, and I do hope that you will join us at the Memorial Day Parade. And it's good to see you. Please feel free to come to continue to come to the meetings. And having said that, on behalf of council and the administration, thank you for coming and have a very good evening. This meeting's adjourned.